edition of the Absolute Packer podcast. This is number 35, and we are going to title it "Ron Zook is an Idiot." That's Andy's idea. It's an ode or an homage to the special teams that we saw against Miami, which was one of the biggest dumpster fires I've ever seen in my life of any special teams of any game ever. So normally I wouldn't, devote the title of an actual podcast to something like just special teams or the guy coaching it, but I'm speechless every time special teams takes the field. Or the stats on the special teams after each game, I could only imagine. Anyway, skirting around that, we're going to talk about the Packers versus Miami, where the Packers, you could say they got right. They beat a team they should beat. Miami was pretty beat up. They had Brock Osweiler as quarterback, which is basically like having me at quarterback. He's pretty bad. And they were down a bunch of offensive and defensive players. So they should have handled Miami, and it was a little close in the beginning, and then they kind of pulled away at the end. But I would say the biggest thing I took, and the biggest thing that should be clear to everybody, fans, coaching staff, whoever, is that Aaron Jones is a star. He is a very good football player, and he made it abundantly clear that he needs to be given the ball much more, because when you give him the ball, good things happen. I don't know if I've seen a player in the past, however many seasons, where it seems like every time he gets the ball, he gets a first down. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think at one point in that game, he was averaging like 15 yards a carry. It was just insane. So yeah, there's no more avoiding that question or saying, oh, we don't know if we want to do this or that. That guy needs to get the ball. And if we can continue to feed him and good things happen, that means we're going to get play action, and Aaron Rodgers hopefully will get right with the offense, because, once again, they kind of they fed Aaron Jones in the first quarter, and then they took him out for basically the entire second quarter, it seemed, and the Packers offense sputtered again. It's death taxes and an Aaron Rodgers led offense that can't move the ball. It's very odd. So that's what I got. What do you guys got?
Well, I will correct you on one thing. Because I know you're recapturing a lot of your memory from your little incident. 2014, we lost a Super Bowl opportunity because of our special teams. So to say yesterday was the worst special teams play that we've ever seen, I wouldn't go that far. That's true. It was below average, no doubt. But Seattle was a debacle in 2014.
That's very true. Different coach, but same result. And
yes.
Good Lord. You're right. Some of the stats, though, yesterday, I think as I was counting, I was like kind of jotting down what I did see for special teams. It was blocked punt, gave up a fake punt, penalty. What else? I can't exactly remember it there, but it was atrocious how bad it was yesterday. At this point, if you fire Ron Zook, I mean, what does it mean? I think it's a foregone conclusion the guy's going to get canned at the end of the year. But at some point, the Packers as an organization, McCarthy, they have to look at special teams as maybe not a game-changing weapon, but something they should treat with at least competency, being competent. The Packers have to have top to bottom, collectively the worst special teams. I mean, every time you almost think something's going to go wrong at every special teams play, and that's no way to live.
No, you're right, and I think we've all said this, that this transformation is going to take a little bit, but this team went into the offseason, I think, with the mindset that they really wanted to improve the special teams play overall. When you go into the draft and you draft a lawn snapper and Hunter Bradley in the 5th round, your punter long snapper in the 5th, 6th round or 7th round or whatever it was, you are putting some capital and some investment into your special teams when you spend draft picks on those types of players.
They spent 2 draft picks. I didn't realize that. I knew J.K. Scott. They drafted a long snapper. Good.
Yeah, Lord. J.K. Scott was a 5th round. Hunter Bradley was the 7th round. And last year, when the season started, we had some issues with the long snapper, and in the end, we brought back Brett Good again, who was our savior and grace, helping out and saving the holding or the snaps on all kicks and stuff like that. So it was a pretty atrocious last year as far as a long snapper goes, and I think the one thing that Goot, I think I'm seeing what he's starting to envision is when he sees something that's hurting this team, he tends to try to rectify it.
I'll give you that.
Not all the time, and I think it has to be a slow transformation because this team has so many holes and so many issues that Goot was handed from the get-go. So we have to be patient with this. We came into this year thinking this team was going to be an average team. A lot of prognosticators had them going to the Super Bowl, which I think was definitely inflated expectations. But yesterday was a win, like you said. Mm-hmm. The one thing that stood out to me, and I'd like to touch this, some point of this episode, was the offense's ability to dictate pre-snap, kind of, knock the defense out of sync, just by basically having a receiver in motion or, formation or man motion type deals. It really led to some big plays. Davante Adams touchdown, Aaron Jones 67-yard touchdown or 67-yard run. There were some big plays that developed off of pre-snap motion and movements. And that really stuck out to me this game. And it's something that I think I'm going to watch very heavily moving forward here because I saw some good things that happened from it. I saw some big plays happen from it. And I hope McCarthy heeds what he saw this game, and hopefully he sees it, that the play action was a huge lift in this game. And all of the pre-snap motion really helped. I mean, even on Jones's screen pass in the second quarter, or late first quarter, early second quarter, I think it was a misdirection. And I posted this play on our APP Facebook page. Beautiful misdirection where they were going to the left and they were acting like they were going to send it out to Davante Adams and a wide receiver screen, and they actually were blocking for it. Fake that, came back to the right, and Aaron Jones was wide open in the flat for an easy screen and a 20-some yard run. So it was a beautiful play, and I think those are the things that we need to take away from this. Is this offense cannot beat teams man up. We have to be creative.
We have to use some scheme.
Creative with the scheme, and get guys in position to make plays. And what I mean by that is try to find the mismatches out there and exploit them.
You know what's interesting? I never really thought about it until this past game, but the Packers, number one, they're not a very good screen team, but they never really use the screen pass.
Mm-hmm.
You never really see that. And maybe they don't do it just because they don't have the personnel for it. They're not very good at it. Combination of both. But if they could start to get that moving, that'd be something else. Because I'll tell you what, if there's one throw that Aaron Rodgers can't make and has been consistently bad at making, it's a screen pass. He can't throw a very good screen pass. He's it's like a 2 or 3 yard throw, and a lot of times he's throwing at people's feet. I've noticed that with and that's just odd that he can't make that kind of a simple throw. But getting back to Aaron Jones, my God, the guy looks like he's getting shot out of a cannon every time he touches the ball. He's just knifing through people, first down after first down after first down. That I read somewhere, I can't remember exactly, but I think there was, McCarthy might have had some concern about his durability. So he's pulling him out for, I don't know about extended periods of times, but he doesn't want to keep riding him. Because what is it? He's pretty compact. I don't remember exactly how tall he is, but He only weighs like 208 pounds, right? I think something like that.
Yep.
So, I mean, he may need to put on a little bit of weight, but I'll tell you what, he's pretty damn good right now. And every single time he touches the ball, something happens. So if they could, I know this McCarthy desperately and Rodgers desperately want to pass the ball all the time. We can make that's pretty abundantly clear. They can get even better with that if they can really start to get some real play action. And my God, how could you not have good play action with what that guy's doing? You know,
right.
I mean, whew.
Every time that Jones was out there, the defense had to respect him, and it opened up the plays. If you watch, I mean, all year, the route trees of the Packers receivers are all downfield. Even on 3rd and 2, we're running 10, 15-yard go routes.
I know. That's been going on forever. It's going on forever.
But, if we develop, or I should say, if we actually run the ball more than 25 times a game, which our average on the year is 22 times a game, that's going to open up so many things. I don't know if you remember the Mercedes Lewis 30-yard reception that he had last night. It was a beautiful deception play.
Was that a touchdown or that was just a play?
No, it was a 30-yard catch.
Not a touchdown, but it was just a catch.
Just a catch, but it was.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He just kind of leaped through the garbage on the left side and snuck around. Yeah.
It was 3rd and 4, and he snuck around he stuck around in the line like he was blocking, and he just kind of slipped off, and nobody was there. And those are the things that you need to do with this offense and with the talent that you have to be dynamic. Is you need to use that deception to deceive the defenses.
Yeah. I agree. When Mercedes Lewis caught it, I was almost like, who the hell is that guy? I forgot. Because all he does is block. So it was a brilliant play to kind of leak him over there and throw him the ball because no one was really paying attention to him.
I guess that's the confusing part to me too, is if you watch a lot of the plays, the tight ends are never what you would call your hot reads. They're never your number one go-to read. To me, you've got Mercedes Lewis, who should be a dynamite goal line option in the red zone. You have Jimmy Graham, who so far has definitely not lived up to expectations, but the physical traits are there where you should be taking advantage of him in the red zone some way, shape, or form. Even back in the day when Jermichael Finley was here, he lamented on the lack of involvement the tight ends had in this offense. And Jared Cook really was the only guy.
He was a freaking beast. God, I forgot.
He was, but he was underutilized because they just had so many weapons. But overall, Jared Cook, of all the tight ends I can think of in recent history, Jared Cook was the only guy that really took off in the second half of the 2015 season or 16 season, excuse me. And into the playoffs, he really, really opened up this offense with his speed and his ability to get downfield and beat linebackers. But also, too, I don't see Rodgers looking at the tight ends as much. That's the one thing I noticed yesterday was his hot reads are always Devontae Adams or another receiver. And that has to change.
Yeah, what's I don't know a ton about Jimmy Graham. I know that when he was in New Orleans, like early in his career, or even like 3 or 4 years ago, he was a dynamic player. He looks like he's maybe above average, but he's, to your point, I think he's being underutilized. And my good, did you see where they had him on the 4th down play, and they had him as the blocker against Cameron Wake? And on that play, I'm going. He got annihilated, obviously. And I was thinking, okay, maybe they have him over there because they have a super hot read. They have like a really fast play to come out. No, they did not. They had a play where they were going to have Rodgers sit back there for 3 or 4 seconds. And Wake just walked or ran around him like he wasn't even there. So it's like, it's hard to blame Graham on that. Although he's not making much of an effort as a blocker. He's not meant to be a blocker, right? No. But on that one, I don't blame Graham. I blame McCarthy or whoever decided to put that protection scheme out there. I'm just like, if you're gonna do that on 4th down, let alone, you better have a play that develops in half a second. I don't know.
That's as long as Graham can hold a block, is literally for a half a second. And I don't know if you remember on that play, Bulaga was sitting there trying to find somebody to block. Yep. So that was the concerning part was, okay, Graham is sitting out here getting his ass whooped, and Bulaga is like, just give me somebody to block. what is wrong with that picture?
Yeah, it's funny. And the Packers offensively on fourth down have been very depressing. I think Rodgers has got to have been taking a sack on like 75% of the fourth down plays they're running, because they're trying to run all these, for whatever reason. They just always seem to be putting out these long developing plays when on fourth down. Jesus Christ. I mean, should not be doing that, but that's the way the offense is right now and the way things are going. I
will say though, they have been rather aggressive on fourth down. They've gone for it 11 times this year. They've only converted 4 of those 11, which is not really good.
And
but they have been aggressive.
Taken a sack on fourth down? I'd like to know that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm wondering if every time he hasn't made it, he's taken a sack.
I can tell you straight off that fourth down, they were all passing plays. They did not have one rush, and they had multiple 4th and 2s in those 11.
Out of those 11, they were all pass plays?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That averaged 2.3 yards per play. So that's not going to convert fourth downs when you have 4th and 3 and 4th and 4 and stuff like that. So,
wow.
Doesn't surprise me. It's a staggering statistic, but it doesn't surprise me. A lot of those kind of statistics don't really surprise me. There's certain defensive ones that do. I mean, did you see like the Packers are like 3rd or something in the league in like sacks? And I'm like, excuse me? How the hell are they doing this? Because Clay Matthews and Nick Perry should be on milk cartons. I don't know where the hell they are. I can't think of the last time Clay Matthews beat someone one-on-one. Nick Perry, he got hurt. I don't know what Nick Perry.
That didn't look good. That looked like a torn knee in some way, shape, or form. His knee just went the other way, and it didn't look good. That guy,
I hate to say it, but that contract was terrible, and he has been invisible. And I was watching some plays where, man, the guy, either he's hurt, doesn't care. I don't even know what to say. He's getting annihilated by tight ends. It's weird.
He is. I mean, I think I mentioned last episode that I never saw him on the ground as much as I did in the New England game.
He's not getting anywhere near anybody. He's not making any plays in the run game. He's not doing.
And we have to, I mean, also too, and McCarthy brought it up in this week's in one of this week's press conferences was he underwent a pretty big ankle surgery this offseason. And he's been slow to come back from that. It's pretty obvious that there's something wrong. I don't think it's from a lack of effort, because he just doesn't seem like that type of guy. But I think his confidence in his ankle to hold up isn't very good, because it seems like he just, as soon as there's any pressure or tension, he just gives up, Yeah,
that poor guy. I mean, he's the definition of injury prone. So I kind of feel bad for the guy, but who the hell knows? For whatever reason, I don't know why it reminded me of this, but do you remember the different positions? But do you remember Cletius Hunt?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, he was one of those guys that he got that contract and he just, basically just didn't care after he got his money and just stopped playing. And I'm not saying that's Nick Perry, but for whatever reason, I remember that Cletius Hunt, boy, he was actually pretty darn good, and then he fell off the face of the earth after he got that contract.
Yeah, he had a great contract year. I think he was close to double-digit sacks. He was very productive.
Then he literally got his money and
just ran.
Yeah,
and I think he admitted somewhere down the road that once he got the contract, he was just happy to have it. So. Yeah.
There are some guys, and I'm not saying Perry's like that, but I hate to say it though, just based on their play. I mean, Matthews and Perry are stealing money right now.
Yeah.
And they got nobody behind them. If Kyler Fackrell is your best option behind them, he's the best outside linebacker. That ain't saying much.
So far he is. And, the scary thing with that thought is you're not getting production from your two highly paid outside linebackers. They are the 10th ranked defense in the league without those two guys doing a damn thing.
That's crazy. And I mean, I guess you got to say that's Pettine,
Pettine's a savior, and also the secondary too. I mean, we improved there heavily this year, and they're playing well overall. I mean, Josh Jackson had a not so good game yesterday. He got beat quite regularly. and it's just one of those games. But Jair Alexander was, again, shadowing every receiver that he was on.
Did he get hurt in that game? I heard he did.
He got a concussion. So I'm sure he's...
Are we sure he had one? They were saying he might have had one. I don't know if he had one.
I heard it was.
Okay. May have to check that only because I heard he might have gone in the protocol, but then they determined he didn't have a concussion or something, which is obviously good.
Either way, it's not good because we have to play a game in 3 days. So
yeah, man. Seattle, that's in Seattle?
Yes, Thursday night.
Oh, good Lord. Brutal. I mean, who the hell knows? This offense has got to get their head out of their ass. I mean, the defense is playing as good as they're going to play with what they got, in my opinion, and they're doing fairly well. Special teams, they're basically they never get off the plane, they never arrive at the stadium, so you can't count on them for nothing. It's amazing how big of a liability special teams is right now. I mean, good Lord! And last night, remember the Packers ran their own fake punt, and you get the feeling that McCarthy was just like, fuck this. We're going to try and do something, that nobody else will see. And it'll just be like to counteract the crap that we're giving up.
They heard you, Andy, and Mike McCarthy was like, you know what? I'm going to fuck that Andy Hetzel. I'm going to get him.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
I don't believe that, but say what you will. I wouldn't be surprised.
He actually messaged us both.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if McCarthy made that call and not Zook, though. I wouldn't be surprised.
That'd be interesting.
That's the one thing with McCarthy I don't think he gets enough credit for is he's a rather aggressive play caller. Whether it's on offense or even special teams calling those types of plays, his aggressiveness cannot be forgotten. He is highly aggressive.
And he goes for it on fourth down a lot and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and the problem with the 3rd and 4th down and shorts and stuff like that is he runs these longer routes rather than going for the first down and just getting it. I mean, he's going for it all, and that's the part of me that I don't understand is you have to take into account your down and distance to get to the first down and just get the first down and not be so worried with trying to make that great play.
And that's where, to your point, I have no idea where McCarthy begins and Rodgers ends or whatever. I look at some of the film and you're right. There's definitely some plays where they call and, guys or whatever, but then there's some, and that's where I'm kind of where I'm leading into with Rodgers. I mean, something's off with him, right? I mean, he's not playing that well. And I mean, his statistics are still pretty damn good. He hasn't thrown an interception. He's got like 1 pick and like how many touchdowns? I want to say he has like 32 touchdowns or something
this year.
No, not 32. What am I saying?
17 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Okay, I was really close. Not. I was thinking of it was Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is just killing it in Kansas City.
But he's only got 1 pick, and he's taking care of the ball from that perspective. He's not taking care of the fumbles or whatever, but he's missing wide open guys. You look back on some of these plays, and Rodgers earlier in his career, or even a few years ago, he wasn't missing wide open guys. He's missing wide open guys now. And then beneath that, he's missing easy throws. So I should say wide open guys. That's where they'll show that piece of the film. And it's a guy streaking down and he's open, and Rodgers doesn't even see him or doesn't pick that guy. Missing a throw is when you gotta, he's leading a guy, slant or whatever on an out, and it's a throw that he usually made in his sleep, and now he's just off that 1 or 2 yards, and it's I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at is, are we watching the decline? Is this like the beginning of the decline? I just don't know. I mean, the play calling isn't helping, but I don't know, because the part of me is just going, he's missing such easy shit,
There are things that we're seeing this year that we have not seen in his
have you seen his throwaways? He has 40 throwaways.
Yeah.
And you know how many he had last year? The whole year? 37.
37.
Oh, my God. I mean, that's insane. I think the next closest guy this year for throwaways is like 15 behind him or something.
And I was listening to the Bill Michaels show today, and
be careful.
But he brought up a point that I think is worth thinking about. He brought up the fact that Aaron, broke his collarbone last year on his throwing shoulder. Now he broke the one on his non-throwing shoulder in 2013, and then broke the one on his throwing shoulder last year. Is that contributing to some of his accuracy issues? Possibly his thought processes of can I make this throw or can I not make this throw? Is my arm, is my shoulder going to give out? Or it just seems like there's something there that would necessitate anybody to think that there could be some issues there. I don't think it's causing him pain, but I think there could be a possibility that maybe some discomfort is there,
or maybe mental, just like you said, straight mental.
Right. And sometimes when you have those types of injuries, it's the mental hurdle that is very difficult to get over. So I don't know. We're seeing things this year that we've not seen in years past. And that's the concerning part. Is the decline of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I would think it can't be, because Tom Brady is playing 41 at a very high level. But you can't compare the two players when physically they are two separate individuals.
Yeah, and he's
one
got
individual's getting beat up. So
he's got a wall of an offensive line, and he gets the ball quick and all that. He's not getting. I mean, Rodgers is. That's the other thing. I mean, let's face it. The offensive line is pretty inconsistent. They're okay at times, but the guards suck. I'm sorry. They're not. They're both not playing well.
I mean, we just have to be happy with the fact that he's had a few fumbles, and they were all in the earlier part of the first half of the season. But he's only thrown one interception so far this year.
And that's risk averse.
Yes, and this is the day and age where you are throwing the ball. He's thrown the ball 355 times this year, and he's only thrown one interception.
Yeah.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
It isn't.
But out of that 300, how many times he's thrown the ball? He's thrown it away 40. Think about that. That's a huge percentage.
That's a huge percentage. But if you remember back in the Brett Favre days, we were all clamoring about how many times he'd throw the ball just into no rhyme or reason why he would make these throws. And then we get a quarterback that is so ultra conservative with his turnovers and stuff like that. We just can't get the best of both worlds.
I agree. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. This just popped into my head, but going back to our glorious special teams, the Packers are the only team that has a lineman on their special teams. Is it an O lineman or D lineman? I can't remember.
O lineman, Lucas Patrick, who actually got hurt yesterday. I think he was taken into concussion protocol.
And he fumbled.
Yeah.
There were 2 fumbles, the more I think about it. Please, somebody explain to me what the hell is going on with that.
Lucas Patrick heard Elliott say that we need to return kickoffs more often, and he heeded his advice.
I mean,
at least somebody listens to me.
But seriously, what the hell is a lineman doing on special teams? Packers are the only team in the league doing that. Why? Tell me, what's the reason?
Well, the way they play, there is no reason, right? If they're going to try to be aggressive and return every kick to the point of failure, they're not good enough to do that. So they should own that and just take what they get and then get the ball to the errands. The special teams is useless. So they should just take the ball wherever it lands. That's what we get. Let's move on.
I think one thing I've noticed too, and that was just a microcosm about the team and how they're built. The team lacks speed. You know what I mean? Collectively, Overall. They don't have any. Overall, they don't have any burners. I mean, Aaron Jones, I don't know how fast his 40 was, and he's pretty quick, but he got caught from behind on that run too. It kind of surprised me. And I'm not saying he's slow or anything, but give me a guy who's a burner on the team. And that having the lineman on special teams was just kind of like and it's their only team in the league doing it.
Right?
Like, give me some fucking speed on this team, because a lot of guys look like they're in cement. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I when I saw that guy taking the ball and taking a field, I almost thought, like, wait a minute, was he a guy on the sideline and it went to him and he went out into play or something?
Well, the funny part of that return too was that ball was taking a turn to go out of bounds. It really was. If you were watching the trajectory of that ball, it looked like it was going to be heading out of bounds, so we would have had the ball at the 40-yard line. So.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Well, and I think we can go back to the lack of discipline on this team.
Yes.
We had a great third down conversion to Devontae Adams, and it gets called back due to Equanimeous St. Brown's crackback block on the defensive back, and that put us back. It was an offsetting play or offsetting calls because Miami had a penalty as well. Put us in 3rd and 4. And then Aaron Jones flinched at the snap, 3rd and 9, put us in a very unmanageable position, and it was 4th down. So those are the things that kill this team more than anything, because I think lack of execution and just undisciplined play keep on killing and laboring this team game after game.
You know what, though? That hit on that guy, it looked brutal, perfectly legal. I mean, he smashed at the guy. He went high, didn't hit him in the head.
Actually, it was not legal because you cannot come from behind on a block and make a block on a guy who is defenseless.
No, defenseless.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. To me, it kind of looked like it was a big hit, but that's football. And
right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was ugly. I bet you he was knocked out before he hit the ground.
He was
all limp and all.
It was a play that was very questionable, and he could have been ejected for it. Remember, in last week, Jermaine Whitehead got ejected for slapping a guy. This is a penalty that could have been an ejectable offense.
What do you think about, by the way, Whitehead being released?
It was a good thing. I don't think he did anything really great. Everybody on the team, the coaches, Joe Witt talked about he was the smartest guy on the team. He might have been, but just physically, he got beat when he was in coverage, and he was exposed when he wasn't playing on the line of scrimmage. In the same realm as what Josh Jones was happening, or what happened to Josh Jones last year. So, I don't think he was for what they were looking for, which was, over 50% of the snaps per game. I don't think he justified the position on his team. And I think it was a very smart choice to let him go and try somebody else.
Yeah, so Clinton Dixon and Whitehead are gone within consecutive weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ty Montgomery too. So with Whitehead gone, they're going to start to play Josh Jones a lot more, aren't they?
Yep. Him, and they also incorporated, I think he's going to be a new fan favorite just because of his name, but Raven Green.
Yeah, what a name, huh?
Right. And he played well in his very first game.
That fake punt was awesome.
Right. And he had a great sack on 3rd down. So he was very, very, it was good to see that production from somebody that we would expect nothing from.
Yeah, you wonder how they designed that fake punt around him. It was great. It was cool and turned out everything. But I'm going, man, this guy you never even heard of, and they designed the fake punt around him. That's pretty cool. Oh,
come on. This was Ron Zook's team. He probably drew it up on the sidelines.
That's true. Very true. Ron Zook. dumb hire. I'll never forget the day they hired that guy. I'm going, I don't know. So they went from Stock to Slocum to Zook. And each successive hire was probably on a downward trend, which isn't saying much when you think about it. Part of the reason I think special teams has never been much of a strength with this team is because they're such a young team. They're built through the draft primarily. They have so many young guys that go on special teams, right?
Yep.
There's no veterans really. And since there isn't an emphasis anyway, Mike McCarthy always said special teams is a path to the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So he's treating it as, just saying that means he's treating it as like a feeder,
Yes, a training ground.
A training ground. And if they could at some point try to look at it as an asset rather than like a necessary evil, that might help things. I don't know.
Well, depending on how this season, progresses and transforms here, he might not have that option to try again. So, I'm talking about both Mark McCarthy and Zook. So,
yeah, if Mike McCarthy makes it through next season, or say he gets re-signed or whatever, Zook has to be fired. If he doesn't get fired, how can you get? What does he have? Compromising pictures of McCarthy or something? I don't know. Because If any coach deserves to get canned, it is Zook. Boy.
Yeah, there's some accountability that needs to be had on the coaching staff. And for me, it starts there. It starts even you have to look with a keen eye at Mike McCarthy as well.
Yeah, I mean, Gutekunst supposedly is introducing accountability to the players, but the coaching staff, I haven't seen much accountability. I don't know. Do you see that, by the way, that video of, I think I sent it to you guys, a video clip of, it was I can't remember his name, but he's the new QB coach.
Oh, for the Packers?
Yeah. There was a video. I can't remember if I sent it to you guys, but he was being asked after the game about a certain play, and he was just being asked questions, and it was a pretty rough interview because he wasn't saying much. And I don't know if he was just, being a guy, because some coaches are just like, when they go to press conferences, they say the minimum amount of, they're kind of like Belichick. They say the minimum amount of words, and they don't really say much of anything. But this guy, I'll have to send you guys a link. It was not pretty. Because I think it was one of the beat writers who was asking him a question about a play, and the beat writer knew way more about the play than the coach did. It was not a good look.
Yeah.
Not a good look.
Yeah.
And I know Rodgers is really tight with his coaches. Like, he loved Tom Clements, and then he loved Scott Van Pelt, and I don't know. I think the offense, we know the offense needs some help. And whatever the scrub rush is, it ain't working.
There was no scrub rush.
There was not.
After watching the game a little bit closer today and watching the offense, there were some positives that came from it. There were, like I mentioned, the Jones screen pass that was a misdirection. Devontae Adams touchdown. Devontae Adams third down reception that got called back because of Brown's crackback block. And even Mercedes Lewis on his little deception and go route. There were some positives that we can take from this, and I think we're all clamoring for we're all clamoring for something that we can take away positive from these games. And that was the one thing that I took away positive from, two things yesterday. One was the defense held a team that didn't have a lot of offensive weapons that were healthy. And number two, the offense inconsistently, but in sporadic cases, had some great plays and executed phenomenally well. And we just need more of that as we get here, because yesterday was a big win, no doubt. But we really we're sitting 4-1, and we have 3 losses in the NFC so far. So we really can't afford, if this is the goal, which obviously it's everybody's goal to get to the playoffs, we cannot afford more than one more loss in the NFC if we have a chance to get in as a wild card. Because right now, the Bears and the Vikings are playing really good ball, and it's going to probably come down to the Vikings in the end taking it, probably with 10 or 11 victories. So, are we in that position where we're 10 or 11 victories? You can only afford one more loss to get there. So,
yeah, I hear you.
And this is a big game too. Looking at the most recent playoff picture, the Packers, as they stand right now, are in the 7th playoff position, right below the Redskins. Let's go over it. The Rams are the number 1 seed. The Saints are the number 2 seed. The Vikings are the number 3. Or wait, the Panthers are number 3. The Vikings are number 4, and the Redskins are 4th. Oh, wait, I got this all mangled up. Let me try again. Rams number 1, Saints number 2, Bears number 3, Redskins number 4, Panthers number 5, and Vikings are 6 with a 5-3-1 record. We stand 4-4-1 right now in the 7th position in the playoff race. We're ahead of the Falcons, who are 4-5. Ahead of the Seahawks, which is our next game at 4-5. So this is a big game coming up here if we want to stay in this playoff thick of it. And the Cowboys had a big victory last night against the Eagles in Philadelphia. So we have some very good teams that we're going up against, and we really need to win games like this Thursday if we want to call ourselves a playoff caliber team.
They're 0-4 on the road too.
Very, very concerning.
Yeah, I agree. I'll tell you what, when talking about Davante, he had 2 touchdowns. That first touchdown he got where Rodgers threw him and he looked off the safety, that was a great touchdown. Second one where he kind of threw it in between those defenders and he went in. It was a hell of a play. I don't know how many touchdowns Davante has, but he's got double digits, I believe.
Davante Adams has 9 touchdowns
I thought he had
so far
more.
this year, 62 catches, 787 yards,
Wow.
12.7 yard per catch average.
And I will, like I said, I will eat crow on him because everybody's game plan, everybody knows he's going to be getting the ball. The only team who successfully shut him down was New England, to go figure. But everybody knows he's getting the ball and he's still, wiping people out. He's playing really well.
Well, just think about this. In 2016, he was 3 yards short of 1,000 yards. He had 75 catches, 997 yards, 12 touchdowns. That was his career best. That was through 16 games. We are 9 games in, and he is just under 800 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. So he's putting up some great stats. And the other thing that's important too is he has not fumbled the ball and he's not given up any turnovers yet. So
that's true. Very true. There were a couple plays where him and Rodgers looked off, which was kind of odd, but I don't know. Yeah. Davante is quite good. I wish they could find a way to get Graham involved more in like the red zone. But like I said, I just think this is going to be a 1-year deal with Graham, and then I think he's out. You can see he's just kind of fallen off. But God, they can just get Jones going on that play action if they really commit to it, and I think they can do quite well.
They can, and you. I'm sorry, if you're a good coach in this league, you get something out of the players that you have. And Mike McCarthy needs to dig deep and find ways to get Graham involved into this offense, because with a tight end, this offense can be unstoppable, especially when you have a running back of Jones' caliber that can run off 10, 15-yard runs at the snap of a finger. So,
yeah, and I've heard, and I'm not exactly sure, maybe you've seen this in some of your film study, but I got to believe they're doubling Graham in the red zone.
They were early in the year,
but now they're doubling Davante.
Now they're doubling Davante. So
a lot of guys are one-on-one. They need to win those, and I guess like I said, Graham apparently isn't winning those.
Well, and here's the thing that they could also do too. So you have a player with a reputation such as Graham's. So utilize, if he's not able to be productive, what I mean by that is being able to catch more balls and score more touchdowns, then use him as a decoy. Put him in motion. I mean, it's very simple. If you're going up against a man concept defense and they're playing man, it is very easy to have Jimmy Graham in motion, have him come up on the line of scrimmage, and that safety was always going to bite because the safety's covering the tight end. So you get 7 or 8 guys in the box, and then you just go with Davante or Marquez Valdes-Scantling or Economist St. Brown on a go route. And to me, it's very easy to scheme something where you can utilize his reputation and get the defenders to bite on those type of things, and get, in this situation, get a safety to come up into the box and get him out of the back 9 and make it a lot easier to have one-on-one situations with Adams and Scantling and Brown. It would just be very simple to me to use his talents in that respect.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see, honestly, is, MVS he's tall, he's fast. I think they're going to start using him a heck of a lot more in the red zone. You'd think. Maybe he'd be I don't want to say the replacement, but to your point, if they use Graham as a decoy, MVS is a big, fast target. If they can get him a little more, a little more refined on there. Their red zone, they're still just not good down there. They got to be. I don't know exactly what their stats are down there, but they got to be bottom third, if not bottom whatever in the league. at red zone. They're just very inefficient down there.
They came into this game right around 53% in the red zone. This game, they were 3 for 3 in the red zone.
They upped them there then.
So, no, we don't want that.
What's that?
We don't want that. I was looking up for statistics on their red zone production, and a play came on where Gore ran for 39 yards.
Oh, oh, you're looking at some video or something. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That opening drive until frickin' Osweiler couldn't even handle the snap. That was brutal. Mm-hmm. It looked like the beginning of the New England game, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy loves to do that. He loves to defer and watch his defense get trounced. I mean, nobody fears the Packers defense. This year, they're okay. They're, every now and then they're above average, but nobody fears the defense, And right now, you can't think not many teams are fearing the offense, but now that they have Jones, they have to fear. I mean, look, Jones is the better option than putting the ball in Rodgers' hands. I can't believe I'm saying that.
At this point, yeah.
It's just the truth. So.
Well, and let's touch on that because, I mean, they run the ball an average of 22 times a game, which is 28th in the league. And you have one of the most dynamic backs in the league currently, and you're not even utilizing him to his fullest capability. They average 4.8 yards per rush, which is 5th in the NFL. The part that really concerns me, and this is where they're actually quite productive on first down, they average 5.64 yards per rush play, but they're only running 39% of their plays with the rush on first down, which is the second fewest in the NFL. So, getting back to mixing up their run to pass mix or run to pass ratio, it needs to happen on all downs, and they need to. Yesterday was closer to 50%. They had 28 passes, 25 rushes, 27 passes, or whatever it was. That's a better ratio, and that's a winning ratio. But honestly, yesterday, with how well the running game was working, they should have had 40 rushes easily. As much as they want to keep passing the ball and putting Aaron back to pass, you have to take what the defense is giving you, and that's the problem with this team right now is they're not doing that. If the defense is going to give you 10 yards per rush, keep feeding the ball until they stop you. That does not make any sense to get out of that or take Jones out of the game. I understand that McCarthy doesn't want to use Jones a lot because he feels like he's not durable enough, but then just have him out there as a decoy. Use these guys as just an available option to keep the defenses honest, because when he's out there, the offense is completely different and the defenses respect him.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. So yeah, it's a win, but it's, I'm not going to sit here and jump up and down and give them tons of things. I mean, it's hard to win in the NFL, no doubt. Everybody's got injuries, but Miami was they were down their tackles. They were down their starting quarterback. They were down. And any team that starts Brock Osweiler, I'm surprised he's still in the league, to be honest. I'm surprised he's a backup. He's freaking terrible. But they won a game that they should have won, and that's the takeaway that we can take away from this. If nothing else, I mean, was it an impressive victory? No, it was not. The impressive victory will come hopefully if we can beat Seattle this Thursday, because that'll put us back on the radar. And it could be a victory that could really spiral this team into a nice little run towards another playoff berth. But obviously everything has to roll right and everything has to go well for that to happen. What do you think their chances are of beating Seattle?
Realistically, I think that's very, very small. But being on a short week, Seattle had a very rough physical game against the Rams that they lost. We had a not so rough, but a costly.
There were a lot of injuries in that game.
With Nick Perry. I mean, I'd be surprised if Nick Perry comes back this year.
We haven't heard anything about him at all, his injury, have we?
No. And I'm blanking on the other player.
Jair Alexander.
Sorry.
Kentrell
Bryce. I think he's done for the year too. You could just tell by the way that he was sitting on the sidelines that he knew something was majorly wrong with his ankle.
Was Breeland hurt too?
I think towards the end he was.
And then Alexander they thought might have a concussion, but I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a fair amount of injuries. The injury report that the Packers had, I think I saw today, was pretty hefty. I mean, Seattle's wasn't pretty either, but look, they don't have the depth right now. They didn't have the depth to begin with, so they have to get kind of lucky with injuries. I think is the best way to put it. But man, Seattle's tough to beat in Seattle. But
this is a game for literally all the marbles. I mean, the winner of this game is going to be one of those teams in the conversation for the playoffs in the NFC. The other team is going to be in peril of not even being in the playoff race. It would have to win all of the rest of their games in order to have a chance. So this is a very pivotal game. I think we all want this team to get to the playoffs. This is a game that you have to win to get there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this was a tough stretch of 5 games, and so far they've gone 1-2, I believe. So yeah, they lost to the Rams. They lost to New England. They beat Miami. It's a toss-up, to be honest. I don't. To be perfectly honest, I don't. How good is Seattle? I mean, I know that they went through that stretch where they went to. Was it 2 Super Bowls? They're pretty darn good. But I mean, I have to think they're a little bit on decline. But I don't really know how good they actually are.
Offensively, I mean, they have Russell Wilson. That's always going to keep them in that conversation, just like Aaron Rodgers keeps the Packers in the conversation. But defensively, I mean, they lost everybody from the defenses they had in years past.
The Legion of Boom.
The Legion of Boom. And Richard Sherman's gone. Earl Thomas is gone. He's hurt, obviously. Cam Chancellor's retired. Cliff Avrill's gone. Michael Bennett's gone.
Holy moly.
Sheldon Richardson's gone. The
Bruce Irvin was there too, wasn't he?
Bruce Irvin was there years ago before he signed with Oakland and then signed with Atlanta. But yeah,
God, you're not kidding.
Their Legion of Boom is Legion of nothing now. So defensively, they should not scare the Packers. But they're young, just like we are. They went out and signed a lot of high draft picks that have not panned out so far in their career this year. They picked up a guy named Barkevious Mingo, who was a top 5 pick for Cleveland years ago, a defensive end. So far, he's started all the games out there, and he's got somewhere between 3, 4, or 5 sacks. So they have a lot of guys who have been in the league before and have actually produced a little bit, but definitely underwhelmed based off of their drafting. So they have guys with the talent. It's just they are not the same.
That is a hell of a talent drain with the players that you just listed. Who was the other? Bobby Wagner. They had their linebackers, KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner. They were freaking awesome.
They both have been in and out of the starting lineup this year. They've been both injured. So yeah, they haven't been healthy for a full 8 games.
God damn.
Or 9 games.
At their height. I mean, some of those players you listen, like I said, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Jesus, they were loaded. Absolutely loaded. But yeah, if most of those guys, I mean, who the heck knows,
Even on the offense, they still have Doug Baldwin, who's always been a steady receiver, but they don't have Javon Curse anymore. They don't have Paul Richardson anymore. They have a bunch of unknowns at the receiver position that really shouldn't scare you. So, this is a very underwhelming team for what product they have on the field. But just like us, as long as you have Russell Wilson out there, you have a chance. So we really need to keep him in the pocket. We have to devise a game plan to keep him in the pocket, because if he's allowed to be mobile and scramble and create plays on the run, he's quite dangerous. So we need to somehow figure out a way to keep him in the pocket and make him a pocket passer, which is not his strength. So,
yeah, I hear you. Well, Elliot, I don't know if you got anything else, but I think we covered pretty much what we want to cover there. I'm looking at the notes here. Tramon Williams lost a fumble on the. I love Tramon, but I was looking at the notes here. Sorry. But man, again, on special teams, he's your returner. And Tramon's 35, 36. That just goes to show how they treat special teams. I mean, well, real quick on that, didn't they activate Trevor Davis?
I don't think it's been official yet. I think he's practicing, but it hasn't been official.
So would he play in this next game?
He can play in this game. He'd be eligible.
I hope he does. I mean, Jesus,
just for having somebody back in kickoff and punt returns that could actually do the job.
Do something? Yeah.
The only concern with him too is he has been fumble prone in his past. So that's a concern because he hasn't been all that sure-handed. So are you gaining much with him? You're gaining more if we don't have a penalty, of course, like Elliot likes to say. If we don't have a penalty, he gives you the option of, the home run. He has that ability. So
I just think that every second that they're in motion is another opportunity for another penalty. It's
on special teams, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, if they pick up 10 yards, there's going to be a penalty. If they pick up 20 yards, there'll be 2 penalties. It's just not worth it. So I honestly, I firmly believe the team would do better if they just took a knee every single time. Period.
Even on punts or kicks.
Yep, same deal. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I mean, they've ended up. You get a penalty. You go half the distance to goal, whatever. There's no point. There's no point. They're not going to be. They're not going to be worse off if you average it out. I should work up a spreadsheet of this because I swear that it's true. Like there's just no way. There's no way they could do worse by just taking a knee.
I bet you're probably right. I mean, special teams is. I don't even like thinking about it. Yuck. But
and we're roughing the Packers, but I think that is true of at least half the teams.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys who are playing special teams on even other teams, the reason they're playing special teams is they're just not good enough to get to they're okay, but they're not good enough to get to the roster. That's a reason why you have guys on special teams. And
the way that the game is played, when you have defense coming at you full speed from the other side, and it's just, you need better players, not more mediocre. You need even better players. It's kind of like the opposite, because you got guys that are blocking in the back all the time, and and I think a lot of guys are trying to really impress, and even the rank and file that I have nothing to do with catching the ball. We're talking about the blockers and the gunners, probably trying really hard to make the 53. And when you're over pursuing and trying too hard on special teams, it can get nasty. That's that one element of the game. That's just. But that is coaching. Like I do not understand why the coaches aren't saying something to that effect. Take a knee, or if you know you can get 5 yards, take the 5 yards, whatever, right? But come on. Like they're seeing things that are not there. And no doubt. I don't know. You can't blame it on experience. You can't blame it on ability. That there's just no. It's another interesting thing I thought about. I mean, obviously, with that collective bargaining agreement, practicing is way down, right? In general. Yep. I mean, how many? I just thought of this. How many? And this is league wide. How many teams are practicing full blown special teams drills?
You can only have 26 full contact practices per year. So it's probably not very often. It's probably not often. I mean, I bet it's really, really rare. So just like anything, if you don't practice, you're going to be pretty damn sloppy. And I bet you every team does treat special teams in terms of that amount of contact and that part of the game versus what you're allowed to practice as like, wait a minute, if we need to get reps, we're going to get them on offense and defense, and we're not going to putz around with this, right?
Which again, it goes back to exactly what I'm saying. I don't disagree with it. That's how they should approach it. I think this should be an insignificant part of the game, and you should just shut it down and take what you get and move on.
It's exciting though. That's the interesting thing. That's like it's an exciting part of the game, or should be, I guess, or maybe it just used to be, and now it just isn't.
It used to be. Yeah. Now with all the rules regarding injuries, it's just no. There's no way. It's not interesting anymore. Now I'm just holding my breath, waiting for the penalty every single time.
Yeah.
And that's not that doesn't make it. That's not any fun. That's not fun.
I agree.
Agreed.
All righty, boys.
So Thursday.
We got a short week.
You have to let me know where we're going to watch the game.
Yeah, I had mentioned us trying to get together. Let me. Might be possible. I'll have to get back on that. We don't have to talk about it on the air. Get into all the. Oh,
you don't want to invite anybody else? I see how.
No. Maybe we'll just do a FaceTime and then I'll point you at the screen.
Oh my
God. Oh, it's silly.
Oh, how far we have come.
Yeah,
we're fair.
Or how poor we are.
So 32-24 Packers on Thursday.
That's your prediction. Right? Interesting. Okay. We could do prediction time. Why don't we start doing that?
Yeah, what the hell?
The defense is playing decent, and since I don't think that they're that good, I'll say I'm going to say 24-17 Seattle.
I'm going to say this is a toss-up for me because I could see this going both ways, but I think it's going to come down to the last possession, and Aaron is going to find a way to get us in field goal range, and Mason Crosby is going to kick a game-winning 50-yard field goal, 23-21 Packers.
Nice. You know, it'd be better as if they got into position for a Hail Mary and they fucking stuck it. And we get a real Hail Mary at their place. Man, that'd be awesome. That'd be cool.
Do you remember? Are you saying remember that call?
The Fail Mary? I remember the Fail Mary. I remember watching that game.
Everyone remembers that.
I remember watching that game. And Jesus.
That wasn't that was no good.
That was the game that basically the refs were on strike, and that was right after that game they brought in the real refs.
Yep.
Bullshit.
Oh yeah.
And the funny part of that whole thing was the NFL brought the refs back so quickly, but they never fully came out and admitted that they but it was like a year after the fact that they came out and said, "Oh yeah, it was a wrong call." So
too bad for you.
Yeah.
I remember I watched they had like some live footage in the locker room of the players after they went in after the game, and they finally got to see it on TV. Oh my God, they were when they saw it happen, there were a lot of expletives flying. And then when Mike McCarthy went for the press conference, you just YouTube that sucker. Very terse, as he should be, but man, yeah. No, I remember that.
Not saying that it was a good memory, but
that one I do remember was brutal. But I also remember about that game. That was Bruce Irvin's first year, and he annihilated Brian Bulaga the whole first half. I remember that. I think Brian Bulaga gave up 3 sacks in the first half.
Yep.
And 3 sacks and like five or six pressures in one half against Bruce Irvin. It was, and McCarthy would not give him any help. He put him on one-on-one every time, and that was stubborn McCarthy there. That was brutal.
Yeah. He never believes in giving his linemen a lot of help.
No, but he believes on putting a tight end on Cameron Wake.
Yeah, agreed.
All right,
hey guys, boys. I want to try to get this out. So give it a go, Pack, go, and I'm gonna do my thing.
All right. Go, Pack, go.
Hey, what about calling in for voicemails?
That's right.
We had an interesting one last week. Andy, would you like to talk about that one?
Oh God,
should we play it?
How are you This is Ned Bompson. I learned the other day that you can trade players during the season for other players on other teams. Now, this is news to me, as after the first day of the regular season, I shut off my phone and turn off my computer. I guess my question is, why didn't anyone wake me up during the past 8 or so years during the regular season?
So it was me. Since I've been recovering from the Holy Coli thing, I've had a lot of time on my hands. I'm finally getting back into work and all that kind of stuff. But
it sounds like Excuseville.
Excuses.
I know. I was sitting around on my ass for a long time, and it was getting to my head. I won't lie.
Yeah.
So
this was just last week, Andy. Here, this is not going to fly. No. You're better now. You said that they're going to let you drive. So
I just learned that.
Green Bay, watch out.
I just learned that today about the letting to drive thing. Oh, I'm fine. Man, I graduated everything with flying colors.
I'm going to throw the voicemail in here. And,
now?
I'll put it in, in when I put the MP3 together.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and everyone else can decide. Good. All 3 of your fans can let you know what they really think of you.
Fine. I have no shame.
And 2 of your fans are on here with you, so.
Exactly. Jesus. Brutal. All right, that's it. I'm out of here.
All right, guys. Go back.
Go.
Podcast.
Chair.
I know, right?